Hello and welcome to the Tennis Menus Daily Roland Garros show. Day one of quarterfinal action is well and truly beyond us now. Well, only just because it went very late in the morning for Rafael Nadal and Jannik Sinner, but it was a great day of tennis. And remember, you can limber with Lauren, our very own package run by Lauren Scopel, inspired by gymnastics-based training to help you stay injury-free. Just $59.90 per year on thetennismenu.com. Val Febo here with you, and we do have a massive program lined up today with Jannik Sinner and Rafael Nadal playing an epic three-set match. It was close, but Nadal just getting the hang of what to do with the young Italian at the end there. But Diego Schwartzman and Dominic Thiem. I said it could go 5 hours yesterday. It went 5 hours and 8 minutes, and we will dissect that match in depth to see what happened and how Diego Schwartzman managed to pull off one of the wins of 2020. On the women's draw, Ons Jabeur tried her best, and unfortunately we couldn't get her over the line. Danielle Collins getting through to this her second Grand Slam at quarterfinal, doing a beautiful job there. But also Elena Svetolina, we thought she'd get through, but qualifier Nadia Podoroska. We'll talk about her and what she's been able to do at this tournament. And also Joel's favorite player, Iga Swiatek, getting through over Martina Trevisan. We'll talk about her and what she's been able to do this tournament. And can she actually adhere to Joel's prediction? And can she go all the way? She's in the semifinals, so who knows now. But without these two men, this show isn't what it is. And the first of which is Marc, the best high-performance coach in the business. And look at him. He just looks, he's brimming with energy today, and he's ready to go. Marc, thank you for joining us.
Always a pleasure, Val, and what a night of tennis. I mean, I've been up watching for a long time now, and you did mention limber with Lauren, and I think maybe Jannik Sinner maybe needs a little bit of work on the old adductors. I think Rafa got him working a little bit more side to side than what he's used to, and actually called the trainer a few times. So we'll touch on that as we go along. But what an epic battle, though. Diego Schwartzman and Dominic Thiem. I mean, that was one for the ages, and incredible match, and we'll dissect that as we go along.
Yep, little guy doing big things. Joel Frucci, how are you, mate?
Buenos dias, boys. Buenos dias. What a night for the Spanish speakers, huh? Some great tennis.
Yeah, it was unbelievable tennis, and I think I think we have to start with the men today. We absolutely have to. And what happened? Diego Schwartzman and Dominic Thiem. Thiem said that his body was pretty much screwed after that match with Hugo Gaston, and it started off pretty brutally with a tiebreak going 7-1 in the first set, and Schwartzman taking that 7-6, then Thiem winning the next two 7-5, 7-6. Fourth set, Schwartzman in the tiebreaker, and then he wins the fifth 6-2. 5 hours and 8 minutes, and guys, look, I am going to say it. I did say it would go 5 hours.
You did.
Just putting it out there. If you need your psychic readings, I am here. So I will accept only cash payments, please. But no, it was an amazing encounter, and I think the emotion on Diego Schwartzman's face at the end said it all. But to fight so hard for Dominic Thiem, and I think losing that fourth set tiebreak probably would have been the key. I think he had to get through that in 4, and if Schwartzman was taking that 1 to 5, it was not going to go well for Dominic with the sheer amount of tennis that he's played over the last 2 months. And I think with Schwartzman, he went out in the first round of the US Open, so made his trek to Europe pretty early. Made the final in Rome, has really peaked at the right time, and he's made his first Grand Slam semi-final. But looking at some of the stats from this match, and I think the winning percentage on first serve for both was at 62%, but Schwartzman, for such a little guy to win 52% of his second serve points in a 5-hour match is pretty impressive. Thiem was only at 42%. Thiem only had 22 breakpoint opportunities, only converted 9 of which, 41%. But Schwartzman, on the other hand, 10 of 16 at 63%. Total points won was fairly even in the end. Schwartzman just winning it at the end, 197 to 179. But the rallies as well, Marc, I'll get you to touch on that and what you thought of the rally analysis and going on from there.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting. I think Gaston paved the way for the recipe to beat Dominic Thiem, and it started off. I think he hit 56 drop shots in that match against Dominic Thiem and had him scrambling over the court. Diego Schwartzman won hit 13 winners off drop shots in this match, and it was at the big moments too. He was able to take Dominic Thiem off the baseline in his comfort zone and actually bring him forward, which is what I guess Gaston was trying to do in that match as well, and definitely played into his hands. Schwartzman played it unbelievably well. He just picked the right moments to play the drop shot, and that was one of the closest matches I think I've seen. I felt like there was times where, you know, Dominic Thiem was down a break in the first set. He was down a break in the second set. He wins the first, and you know, you think, okay, well, here we go. I think it's interesting Schwartzman won the first, but interesting to watch how the match just kept swinging. It didn't actually go in someone's favor, or didn't go from like a hold. It was like break back, break the other way, break back. And it was really interesting how the momentum just kept shifting in and out. And it was almost not until sort of that 2-2 in the fifth set where it started to break open. Schwartzman started to take real control, started to come forward a little bit more, be a bit more aggressive. You know, his net game was absolutely incredible. He comes forward better than a lot of players, especially at his height. He hit 15 winners off volleys, which is actually incredible for a guy of his height to sneak in and take the net the way he does. Is exceptional, and he actually gets in so close to the net that he cannot miss, and it's great. He only missed 3 volleys out of those points in terms of unforced volleys, and you know, he's actually got a really good recipe to beat players of Dominic Thiem's, I guess, style of game. And you know, he can play back, he can play forward, he can play touch, he can play deep and hard. So it's actually a great variety to play with. Now, the only thing that obviously lets him down is the serve. It's not the most, obviously, biggest weapon in the game, but he keeps it solid and he gets himself in the points. So, you know, great match from Schwartzman. Thiem played incredible. I mean, for someone who was absolutely probably dead tired from the US Open and the previous matches, the way he played was exceptional, but just couldn't get over the line in the end. And you know, well done to Diego Schwartzman in 5 hours. They're great mates, and it was great to watch them embrace at the end. I thought that was a really nice moment.
Yeah, and I think the embrace, I think what Diego Schwartzman said after the match, said Dominic is one of the best players in the world right now, winning the last Grand Slam 2 times in the final here. He's my friend. I have a lot of respect for him, and that's why this match is very important for me. And you could see them both smiling at the end of the match. And I think Thiem in that sense is such a good sport. And I think even in the fact that he was up a mini break in that fourth set tiebreak twice and was unable to capitalize. And even, you know, to go there and smile for his friend, I think speaks great testament to his character, Joel. And I think that this, even though it is a loss and such a tough loss, I think the fact that he's been able to actually back up his US Open performance, get through a tough draw and make the quarterfinals and still go 5 hours playing quality tennis, I think that speaks a testament to what we're going to expect from Dominic Thiem in the next few years, because he's peaking right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's really set himself up for that, not only this year, but the year previous as well. We've spoken a lot, Val, about how last year he played just so much tennis. But probably didn't really translate for him last year, but certainly has this year. And even over the lockdown period, he played some exhibition events that were available in Europe to start with. I remember we were talking about it, and he wasn't really playing his best tennis. He probably took him a while, took him a little bit of time to really click into gear. But obviously, we know what he's done after that. Steamrolled through the US Open, won the championship there, the breakthrough that we were finally waiting for, and then played some really good tennis at Roland Garros. So, look, certainly more to come, and it's great because, as we know, Dominic is certainly one of those players that's going to make up the next gen, really. Even though obviously he is, not the later stages of his 20s, but he's 27 now, so he's at that age where he can really start to translate.
I think so, and I'm excited to see what we're going to get from Dominic over the next 2 years. We had the discussion about Grigor Dimitrov yesterday, and I think Thiem has been able to capitalize on his opportunity. And Thiem is a better player than what Dimitrov is, I think, and I think that the way Dominic plays, I think that can translate into Grand Slam winning form. And Marc, you mentioned it's how the offense wins matches, defense wins tournaments. Thiem has got both, and he utilizes both in an unbelievable way that I think is so amazing to watch. And I think he's been involved in some of, and it's always the same players that are involved in these epic matches at Grand Slams. And you look at guys like Thiem, you look at guys like Wawrinka, you look at guys like Federer and Djokovic and Nadal. They're always, and Del Potro to a sense as well, they're always the ones that are looked at in those epic molds. You look at Del Potro v Thiem at the 2017 US Open. You look at Thiem Nadal from the 2018 US Open. You look at Wawrinka Djokovic, those epic matches from the Australian Open. and Wawrinka and Tsitsipas from last year's French Open. It's always those players that have that ability to crush the ball, but also have the ability to defend as well. And that's why they're so good to watch. And that's why it translates into going deep in tournaments.
Yeah, absolutely right, Val. I think that I'm going to give you some homework today. You've given us a lot of homework the last few days, and I'm going to get you back here.
Come on. Not as I say. It's do as I say, not as I do, Marc.
I need you to check this out for me, because it'd be interesting to know how many times Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal would have lost in a straight sets match in a Grand Slam in the last 12, 13, 14 years. To beat these guys who are unbelievable in defense, you have to go the distance. You have to play longer matches. You have to be out there for periods of time. So this is where I think the separation was this morning in Nadal versus Sinner. Sinner was outstanding and scintillating in his offense, but it was the defense that made a huge, huge difference. And Nadal just made one more ball a few more times than Sinner was used to. And that is the difference between the best and worst players, is the ability to stay in the point that little bit longer, to stay in that match a little bit longer, to push the distance. And as you saw over that match as well with Nadal and Sinner, the execution of Sinner's offense decreased with fatigue. Now, offense can only be so good for so long. It's the ability to play both. And you said Dominic Thiem does that. Absolutely. He has that in spades. And I feel like he is one that is going to be able to be there for a long period of time, because he can play great defensive tennis, but he can play offensive. And it's conducive to both fast and slow surfaces, and he can play anywhere in the world. And that will stack up, and his game will stack up for a long period of time. I think Jannik Sinner will get there over time. I just feel as though right at the minute his offense is outstanding, but his physicality, being a young guy, not enough pre-seasons, not enough strength in his body and endurance in his body, plus the ability to just hang in there a little bit longer mentally, is what he's going to need to sustain that level for a period of time, like the best players.
Yep, I do agree. And we'll move on to that match now. And Nadal was tested. This was by far his biggest test. And I do want to get your thoughts on this, Marc, but it was 7-6, 6-4, 6-1 in favor of Rafa over the young 19-year-old Italian Jannik Sinner. But Sinner was up a break in the first and the second, could have easily been up 2-0 with the way he was playing. And Joel put to me that it was just a simple lack of concentration at times, that he couldn't just sustain. Really, and that's what got Nadal over the line in those first two sets. But what I noticed this morning is that, because the match went until 2 a.m. Paris time, but that Nadal, every time Sinner hit the ball flat, Nadal struggled to get the ball back, or didn't get it back with the purchase that we're so used to by Rafael Nadal. But when Sinner put that slightest bit of topspin on it, Nadal was able to dictate and hit that forehand down the line and hit the backhand cross court and really start to dictate the point. Then Sinner was relying on his defense, which held up for 2 sets. But I think it was when Sinner was hitting the ball that was skidding low on the ground, that was when he was in the match the most, and he was really aggressive. And then he started to hit a few topspin shots just towards the end of that second set, and that's what cost him. Is that the sentiment that you feel, or was there what else happened in that match that resulted in Nadal winning 6-1 in the third?
Yeah, I mean, look, to beat Rafa, and it was actually interesting. I had a conversation with a player that I'm coaching that was in Europe at the moment, and we were both watching the match together. And I was on the phone this morning, and I said to her that to beat Rafa, you've got to beat Rafa through his forehand. You can't beat him through his backhand. His backhand will not break down. His forehand, as much as it will be the weapon in the match, it's the one that's going to break down the most, and it's actually going to give you a look at the match. So, he was hitting a lot of balls short in that first set. Sinner was hitting quick, as you were saying, speed to the forehand. He was going quick and hard into that forehand side, getting in behind him a few times. And Nadal just kept dropping it shorter and shorter and shorter. Then, serving for that set, Nadal started to pick up his depth of the ball, started to pick up his court position changed. He started moving forward a little bit more, becoming more on the offense. You don't give Rafael Nadal time and space. One thing, you don't give him time and space. And Sinner in that first, probably 90% of that first set gave him nothing. But it was that little bit of that door opening just a tad. That's all that Rafa needed. He started to change the court position. He started to use that time. He started to be more penetrating with his shots, started to hit more depth on the ball. He then started to move Sinner around more in the second set, and Sinner started to get really sore in his adductor, which is a sign of lateral movement coverage. And that's where the match change is that Nadal just loves to have time, and you give him that and he'll take it. So I thought it was a really interesting match. And obviously Sinner was going aggressive in those first 2 balls of the rally every single time. But Nadal, to his credit, stayed in the points just a little bit longer and made Sinner make a few more errors than probably he would have normally.
Yep. And Joel, going toe-to-toe with Nadal on clay and actually defending him on clay is one thing, but to turn the defense into attack is something that Sinner did so well this morning. How many times did Sinner have an overhead? Nadal have an overhead, and Sinner ended up being able to win the point. And that was what impressed me the most. And I think watching him, and the commentators actually put a likeness to what Thomas Berdych played like, and the way he hits the forehand, he just hits it cleanly, and the way he hits his shots. Is Sinner going to, and is he more impressive than Berdych was at the age of 19? So, what do we expect to come from Jannik Sinner over the next few years? Because I reckon we're going to see some big things. And if they play on a hard or grass court, I think Sinner might have Rafa's measure.
Yeah, he's super impressive. And it's interesting that you raise grass, Val. I cannot wait to see Jannik Sinner play on grass. I think it's a surface that's really going to suit him, but he is going to be a superstar. I mean, seen more than enough this Roland Garros to reaffirm that. Obviously, we had a glimpse of him when he won the next gen finals, the inaugural next gen finals against Alex de Minaur. But I mean, the players he's beaten this tournament, David Goffin, Alex Zverev, and then pushed Rafa, of course. He's going to be fantastic, I think. And one of the big things that Yannick has going for him, I think, is that he's coming in at a really good time. Obviously, the current hierarchy of tennis is probably, certainly in the of men's tennis anyways, in the twilight. Obviously Rafa and Roger. Novak probably still has a few more years left than those guys, but I think he's coming in at the right time. We've seen previous that there's a lot of players that have come through that didn't get the slams that their talent probably warranted, but I think Yannick is coming in at exactly the right time. And I love the flatness of the forehand. It's something that can beat a lot of players. And as Marc said, I think that'll come with experience. A bit more kilometers in the legs, and also I think what's going to be really important for him is just that little bit more sort of mental fortitude. I think what cost him this morning was when he dropped his serving for the first set. I think really cost him, and it was an uphill battle from there.
Yep, and it was kind of like echoing back to the US Open semi-final last year when Matteo Berrettini took on Nadal and had those chances in the first set. I think he served for it, had a break, and then had a big lead in that first set tie break, and Rafa was able to come back and win it. And I think that was where the match sort of ended. And you kind of like, oh my God, I've had my chances. I've gone for an hour and 10 minutes with this guy, and I've come up with absolutely nothing. But that's what you've got to look at. Oh my God, I just went 70 minutes with this guy and I'm only down by one set. Like, come on, we've got this. And I think the commentators were saying that Mark Woodford essentially said that what he puts a likeness to and what he's liked about Sinner this tournament isn't his strokes, it's his mentality. And I think this is something, Mark, that you've spoken about for the US Open show and this Roland Garros show, that mindfulness and having that strong mentality is going to win you matches as much as your shots are. And that's what he's had throughout this tournament. He's beaten quality opponents, like, as Joel said, Zverev and Goffin. So, and the way that he played against Nadal, he was unflustered that he lost that first set. There was no emotion. He just got on with the job, got up a break in the second, and created those chances again.
Yeah, I guess for an Italian, because I'm half Italian, I can probably say this. He's very calm for an Italian, right? So, speaking from experience and my family in particular, we can get a little bit hot-headed, and he's definitely on the opposite side of the spectrum. He's calm, he's controlled, and he basically just, nothing flusters him. Like, he seems to be just like cruising. Like, he played a great point to break Nadal and go up, I think it was 6-5 in the first set, and he literally was just like, nothing happened. Like, he just walked across the net. I thought, man, give me something. Like, get yourself going after that. It's kind of a time where the adrenaline's got to be going, and you've got to take that advantage. And yeah, he's got a great mindset, good head on his shoulders. But yeah, as we said, and I think Joel said before, like, physically, he needs a few more Ks in the legs, he needs a bit more strength, and be able to play a few more of those longer matches and get some experience going serving for a set or serving for the match against the big players. And he hasn't had too many opportunities to play him for a long period of time. So I think over the next 12 months, we're going to see a Jakob Sinner that is going to be top 5 in the world. I think he's incredible. He's got every weapon possible. Just needs to get the defensive side a little bit better and tidy up a few loose ends. But he's a player to watch in the next 10 years.
Yep, agree and concur 100%. I don't think that anybody can go against what you said there, because it looks as though it's going to be a massive fact. And I hope we can see the best of him, because what we've seen so far is already stunning tennis. So Rafa v Schwartzman in the semi-final, and who knows what will happen after Schwartzman beat Rafa in Rome. But I have a feeling, though, the tide will turn. Guys, do you guys both, I will give just a one-word answer. Will that result change from Rome?
No.
Yes.
So you've got Schwartzman beating Nadal.
Yep.
Ooh, okay. It's very exciting.
I'm only doing it because I knew everyone would go for Rafa. So.
Oh, okay.
No, I think no. Look, I do. I think he's a big chance. I think the way he's playing, I think the confidence he would have gained from beating Rafa last week is something that, I think he's going to utilize. I think he's got a bit of a recipe to be able to beat him, and I think he's playing some good tennis. I think he's a really good chance.
Yep, and the guy is an Argentinian Energizer battery. So I think we're going to see a very, very long encounter there, like we have in some of their previous matches. But we'll move on to the women's draw as well. And Ons Jabeur and Danielle Collins took to the court for the final 4th round match last night after they were pushed back a day. And well, look, Joel and I, we both said last night that Collins was screaming unnecessarily loud during that match, and halfway between points it was. And look, I know, Marc, we have this discussion at the US Open that you do teach the grunting, but when you start screaming halfway through a point, it doesn't seem like it's a tactical like it's more gamesmanship rather than anything. But Joel, talk me through your thoughts first on what you thought of the actual loudness of the screams and what was going on, because it seemed as though it was really inappropriate.
Well, I'll say straight away, I think there were probably more decibels in that match than fans. But oh, geez, it was a strange match to watch. There were a few ebbs and flows in it. Look, I'll tell you what though, Danielle Collins, the power that she brings is something that's a real weapon, and it's not the first time that we've seen it. It was an interesting match though. Both players had their periods. To start off with, I don't know, Ons Jabeur looked a little bit off. She tried to throw in a couple of drop shots, but they just didn't quite work. They started to eventually, but I remember there was one that didn't even reach the net, and I was thinking, oh, maybe it's not quite her day. But look, she found her way back. But fair play to Danielle Collins. In the end, she got it done, and that power against Sophia Kenin, it's going to be interesting. It could be a bit of a slog off in some respects. But yeah, in terms of the noise. What can you really say? We were talking about it when the match was going on, Val. Is there really any action they can take with it?
Yeah, you can't, because even though you can kind of tell that some of the time when she's screaming halfway through a point, and it seemed like a more scream than a grunt, but it came out of nowhere. And although you can kind of tell that it doesn't seem right, how can you prove that? And that's where it comes into fact. But she did get through 6-4, 4-6, 6-4. Marc, I'd love to get your thoughts on it and what you thought of the match. And Jabeur played really well to finish off the second set and to come back from a breakdown and force the decider. But as Joel said, the power that Collins possesses is it's unbelievable, because she doesn't have the biggest frame, but geez, she can club the ball.
Yeah, she can. She obviously can pop the ball really well, and that's probably where you saw Ons Jabeur trying to create some different kind of looks with the drop shot. She's missed 7 or hit 7 unforced errors off the drop shot itself. Hit 6 winners, so she's obviously had a bit of a plan in mind that she couldn't go with Collins in the power stakes for the whole match, but needed to utilize her strengths, and her strengths are variety. It's definitely not movement, so she wants to move her opponent before her opponent moves her, and that was obviously probably the thinking behind it. We'd love to touch base with Shane Leonard, who I think we may have on the show tomorrow. I think he's primed to bring us some new data from what's been happening this week, which is great. But you're not wrong. Just looking at Collins' stats and having a look at, she's hit 12 winners, but she's hit 21 forcing errors, and that to me is the huge or the best part of her game is the ability to pop the ball so big that she forces you into error, and that's a huge thing from a player of her ability and her stature, because I think she's not, as you said, she's not huge, but what she does pack is a good punch on her ball, and she did that. And yeah, I mean, great tournament for both players. I mean, on Jabeur, great tournament for clay being her worst surface in terms of result-wise in the past, and Danielle Collins doing a great job, obviously playing now fellow countrywoman Sophia Kenin, which will be very interesting.
Very exciting matchup there, but we'll park that side of the draw for the moment. And Elena Svetolina against Nadia Podoroska last night. Podoroska getting through 6-2, 6-4, and there was really nothing else to say. She was just too good. She'll move from 131 in the world to number 48, and she's only the third qualifier in history to get through to the semis at a Grand Slam, and the third in general to do. The first to do it at Roland Garros. Sorry, I'm getting my stats muddled up there, but first to do it ever at Roland Garros. It is so impressive what the young Argentine has done. And I think it might only be her second, I think it's her first Grand Slam main draw since 2016. So Joel, talk us through this match. And Svetolina, the highest ranked player left in the draw, this was her chance to win a slam. And again, I'll ask this question to you. She's still young, but can she win one?
Yeah, look, I think Elena can still win one because I think she's still what time? She's 26, so she's still at a pretty good age. I'm not sure. I think she's an interesting one because whenever I watch her, I just think, does she have the weapons to go on and win one? She can hit a hard ball, but can she do it enough? I think is the big question with her. But what was a real problem for Elena Svetolina last night was that she only won a third of points on her first serve, which if you're only winning that many points on your first serve, you're not going to win too many matches. So yeah, that was a huge problem. But Nadia Podoroska, what more can you say about the story behind it? Even just watching the match and listening to the commentary, you could feel the happiness of the moment. It was so great to see a qualifier come through that. And I guess in the grander scheme of the year, not only in tennis, but just in the like what 2020 has been, there's been so much so much hardship. To see someone like Nadia Podoroska go through qualifying at Roland Garros and make a semi-final, I think is just a story that proves to everyone that there is maybe something to pull out of the ashes.
Yeah, I think so. And she's not in bad form in September this year. So last month she won the Open de Saint-Malo in France on clay, which is a ITF event for the women. But this result is quite simply magnificent. She has played one Grand Slam main draw. That was at the 2016 US Open. She was 19 years old, and she lost in the first round to Annika Beck. She's lost since then, 2017, 3 qualifying events, 2019, 2 qualifying events, and has missed 9 slams out of those. So to come through in her second Grand Slam main draw, she's never won a Grand Slam match, to come through qualifying, which she'd also never done, and then it's just simply unbelievable. And I'm so impressed with what we've seen from her, to show absolutely no signs of wiltering against someone. I know she has come through qualifying before. She did it at the US Open, but to do that against Elena Svetolina is quite simply unbelievable. So look, I'm excited to see what we can see from her. No qualifier has ever gotten through to a final of a Grand Slam. And if we can see that happen here, well, then 2020 is just providing narrative after narrative after narrative. And fingers crossed we do see that, because it would be so exciting. But looking at the other match, Joel, your favorite, Iga Swiatek, got through over Martina Trevisan, another qualifier, 6-3, 6-1. And Marc, the way that she's playing, is Joel right? Can she do it?
Oh, absolutely she can. I mean, there's no doubt that the way she's playing, especially on the surface now and the way that the conditions are playing, there's no doubt that she's definitely a great chance. I mean, I watched the match this morning. When you don't sleep at all, you get to watch a lot of tennis. And I think that's been the positives of me not sleeping. But I thought Trevisan was unbelievable in that first set. She was 3-1 up. She was dominating the court. Swiatek could not do a thing. She couldn't. She was pushed back. She was in danger. 3-1, and then it just went bang 6-3 within a short space of time. And the way that Swiatek can create angles. That to me, and I said this in our show the other day, was she's able to hit these spots that not many girls can. She hits around the outside of the ball. She creates really good width. And against players, especially like Trevisan, who really struggles to move, that to me is important because the girls these days are big hitters, but they're not great movers. And clay also doesn't help movement. So if you can get them out of their strike zone, you can take away their time, you can get them into defense rather than being an offense. It's a great opportunity for her. And she did that today in spades. But I know we talked the other day about the way she played in terms of coming to the net. She was able to have variety in her game. Today, she just played it purely from the back of the court. I thought it was interesting to watch how she could just mold her game style from one player to the next and play in so totally different ways, but still execute really well. And that's a sign of an exceptionally good player. And I do feel that she's one to beat. She's playing exceptional tennis. And, you know, I hope for Joel's sake she gets through.
Yeah, well,
Me too, Mark, me too.
one sidekick this morning, and we could have one for the whole tournament with you, Joel. So, yeah, you called it pretty early, and you said even before she played Simona Halep that she was going to trouble her. So we'll see what happens for the rest of the tournament. But Mark, just before we do go, because I do, and before we run through tonight's matches, I want to ask you because I completely forgot to do it yesterday. I heard the commentators say that the drop shot is being played commonly on the third shot of each rally. Why is that?
Because they've probably got more time. So it basically would come after usually a serve, and then a return comes in, might be a struggled return, and you've got time, and the player's being pushed back or pushed wide, you maybe then have a bit of space. So it's predominantly at that time. At the moment, it's playing out that way, but it's generally when you have a little bit more time on the ball, you have some options, and you push your opponent behind the court or with, and giving yourself some sort of space to work with. So you never want to play a drop shot when the other player's in control, because then they've got court position on you and they'll get to that drop shot quite easily. So it's generally when you are in control of the point, you generally use that drop shot.
Okay. Absolutely love the analysis by Marc Savolis. That is why he is #better than Moratoglu. And look at the smile on his face. He's never leaving that room again. I've pumped up his head so much over this past month and a half that, I'm surprised. How rock hard that is. It is rock hard with a big brain. Marc Savolis, thank you very much. But we'll get to our thank yous properly after I go through tonight's show. Tonight's matchups: Petra Kvitova over against Laura Siegerman in the first match on Chatrier. Danielle Collins in action again against Sophia Kenin, the fourth seed there. What will happen? I have absolutely no clue in that match. Andrei Rublev against Stefanos Tsitsipas, another one that could go very, very long. They played an epic in Hamburg last week. And then Novak Djokovic against Pablo Carreño Busta, the rematch. Will he hit a linesman? Is Laura Clark going to be there? I don't know. I hope she is. Just taunting and taunting. It would be very funny. But look, I'm really looking forward to tonight's matchups. And remember, you can head to the tennismenu.com for the Limba with Lauren package, our very own package run by Lauren Scopel, inspired by gymnastics-based training to keep you injury-free, just $59.90. I need that for my hips because I've somehow got bursitis in there from not stretching enough. So, yeah, not happy with that. But I will be using Limba with Lauren because that is absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. It's a fantastic product. So, brilliant stuff there. Marc Savolis, thank you very much for your efforts on the show today, and I'm going to practice some drop shots for you.
Great, and that Limba with Lauren is really important for a lot of players. There was a comment on the TV this morning that Jannik Sinner didn't start taking tennis anywhere near serious until 13. He did a range of sports before that. He created the athletic ability to be able to play this sport, and that's what this sport needs, is athletic development from a young age. So the Limba with Lauren package is critical to keep your body in shape, to get some good balance in your body, to have the flexibility, mobility to create the right positions for your strokes. So that really helps your coach to be able to mold your stroke production. So check it out. Lauren's got some amazing stuff on there.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Marc. And Joel Fritchie, always a pleasure with you, mate.
Yep, good stuff, boys. See you tomorrow.
You didn't say gracias.
Oh, yeah, gracias.
There you go. And I will do my homework for you tomorrow, Marc. But remember that it's been a great show today. You can follow us at the Tennis Menu on Twitter and Instagram, and the Tennis Menu on Facebook and LinkedIn. We are there. You can subscribe to us as well on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, because we are there, and these shows are going up on audio form. Remember, if you want to comment on our socials and ask us a question when we do post the videos or on YouTube, please do, because we want to answer all of them on the show as well. So remember, Val Febo, Marc Joel Frucci here, joining you every day throughout Roland Garros. It's going to be a big night of tennis again tonight.